Don't expect any jokes from me. I'm very bad at that. Um, Topic.
Then let's move on another
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying?
I like the self-certified gig. That's a joke by itself.
Yeah, is it? Okay. So I do work then, yeah? Sometimes. Um, right, any guesses what this city is? Which city this is? That's not too difficult. It's sorry?
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, there's also a flag in here somewhere. Can we turn the lights off, please? And IT architecture would be as well. So I didn't introduce myself. The name's there. I work here as a network architect. Been here 4 years. Before this, I was with Cisco. I was a consultant into some banks architecture practice in the RBS, HSBC. In the 4 years we've been here, the architecture practice in NYU has been here. We brought this campus up. We brought many initiatives like connecting this campus globally. We developed the standards and templates that was used over here. Right, let's go to the next slide. So that's New York, by the way. The yellow taxis probably gives that away. When you hear enterprise architecture, what comes to your mind? Any guesses? One part or a major chunk of enterprise architecture. You will also hear methodologies for it. There's TOGAF, there's Zachman framework, there's ways to do enterprise architecture. Gartner says it's a verb, which is more accurate, I guess, because it's a process. It's not something that you set in place and it works. You need to continuously go back to it. Now, we'll do this very enterprise architecture. It goes on, there's a CIO council developed, they come up with this framework, it morphs into this, which is then comes into TOGAF, which is what is a popular method today. This is all public sector, by the way. From here, at this point, is the private sector, Gartner and Meta. That was another organization they since merged. They now do a lot of enterprise architecture, methodologies or practices. So now let's get to more practical aspects. We know enterprise, or I just discussed why talk to some other departments, they don't have anything, let's do this, right? If they are talking. Chances are these things are too big and there's people not talking to each other, right? Department 2 does the same, Department 3 does the same, and suddenly you have duplication. It might not just be a system. Say you did develop a system, but then now you need a secretary to run with it. You need people on the ground to actually put up posters on like when labs are utilized, or if there's any interconnection between labs, or if labs need to be booked for 3 days because there's an experiment running, right? So suddenly you developed a whole ecosystem behind it. And each department could do that. So you have some departments could be busy, and so you're like underutilizing capabilities. You're doing a silo approach, suddenly there's a lot of duplication, right? So basically, there's a lot of wasted effort. So that's an example of a problem. EA, in theory, EA helps this. EA helps resolve this. EA is enterprise architecture, by the way. A lot of people would say, well, we don't really need it. We don't really need it. We're just designing a hut. It's a small system. It's for us. It doesn't affect anybody else. Okay, fine. If you're designing a hut, you don't need an EA. When's the next person come about and design a hut as well? And a third one, somebody comes up with a tower, and a gleaming, nice new tower. Then somebody comes up with an airport. And all of a sudden, you need all these systems to talk to each other. People are talking, people are moving across these systems. So let me give you an example. Mumbai airport, I've come from India. Beautiful new airport, right next to a slum. These things grew organically. They don't necessarily talk to each other. Right? When you have organic growth in IT systems, you have the same problem. You have siloed approaches. You don't have information flowing across boundaries. So in an organization, you're not building huts, you're building cities. Now, TOGAF has an objective, boundaryless information flow. What it means is, it wants to cut down silos, it wants to cut down barriers at different systems. Now I didn't have time, so I copied pasted this from the internet. So it says legal manufacturing. We don't have any manufacturing at universities. Or, okay, not in this university. But if you were to extrapolate this to a university, you'll have different departments, maybe HR, maybe public safety, and you want boundaryless information flow. You want information to flow across this department. This might be student information, this might be learning. Do you want these research materials to pass across different departments? Or do you want student information, like from public safety to the athletics department and on? Or do you want to be siloed across in systems? So now you're probably thinking, okay, let's go get an enterprise architect and this will solve everything, right? Yes and no. No, I don't have an issue with that. But as a technology architecture, I can tell you that there are like plenty of activities in this domain right now, right today, that can deliver you immediate values. That can be return on investment, decreased complexity, or you name it. There's loads of other activities that can help you here. Proven and working, and it's out there. You can go and refer to this. You can go to the reference framework. You can see, okay, how did New York University deploy, say, a computer system which which helps with public safety? How did they do this? What criteria did they use? How did they choose the vendor? Get all this information online somewhere, and you can refer to that. And of course, you can share best practices. You know, let's go up one step ahead. Templates. This reduces errors. I'll give you an example. When we started NYU, I don't think we had configuration templates yet. When we designed this campus network, and this is a huge project, there's 32 buildings, there's like, by the end of it, I think there were like 60, 70,000 lines of code on the network infrastructure, only on the network infrastructure. Without templates, none of that, or there would be errors all over the place because everybody implements something differently. The first thing we did, even before touching any configuration or any technology, was develop the standards, develop the framework, the standards, and then all of this flows. We had like 100, maybe 10, 15 different teams. There was Polycom for video conference, there was Cisco, and different departments within Cisco, like there was quality of service for to make sure your phones work. There was IPT engineers, there was, you name it, there was every sort of engineer. There was routing engineers, there was, I can't remember, there's just too many. But because we had a common architecture framework, they all knew what they had to comply to. They didn't just do their own thing. If you give a vendor something to do, they do according to the vendor best practices, which might not fit your best practices. And then you have suddenly competing and contradictory policies or point solutions, things that don't talk to each other, which breaks the whole boundaryless information flow thing. Other templates you can do, platforms as a service. My architect friend, server architect friend here was telling me that at NYU you can just do a few clicks and you get an SQL database, all set up already with standard templates. Documentation templates, like if you're documenting something, if you're sticking to, come here. When you create best practices for implementation guides, for example, we will have a lot more operational benefits. There will be less downtime. We've seen that at NYU. We have more projects executed skillfully. We have compliance. So I wanted to discuss this compliance. So when we deployed a network video recording solution, public safety here records your videos. Do you know there's a compliance requirement in the UAE that you should store the videos for a certain number of days? We received that information from somewhere, but I don't know where it was. I don't think it was a vendor. Maybe it was. But key point is, if you have a framework, that framework will tell you need to be compliant to these particular standards. We're missing that right now. We don't know where to go for that information. We are searching in the dark. We had to look trawl through UAE Ministry of Interior websites, policies, etc. to understand that.